Well, the majority of the board members of our holding company are actually from our team members. One of the recent things, for instance, that we did was the introduction of menstrual leaves for our lady collaborators. So this is for greater inclusion that in the long term sets the basis for a sustainable organization that remains at the forefront of technology and of the betterment of a human being. And I think that's what we want to be as a group and as an organization. I co-founded Capital Horizons together with my first partner, Tony Reddy, whom I met in rather fortuitous circumstances. I was a partner at the time in a renewable energy company, and we were looking for some lands in the north of the island to grow a special type of grass that had very low lignin content and had a high calorific value. So it would allow us to make pellets with that, and those pellets could be thereafter burned for production of electricity or exported. Now, throughout this endeavor of finding out lands in the north of the island, I met a farmer landowner who had a friend who was working in a hotel on the East Coast. And he told me that his friend had met a rather interesting South African gentleman who wanted to do some business in Mauritius. And he told me if I would please make some time and meet this person. And I said, obviously, yes, let me meet him. So I met with Tony, who had recently sold Nomad, which was the biggest payment service provider in South Africa, and he sold that to BankServe, which is a consortium of banks in South Africa. And we had a chat about different investment opportunities in Mauritius. So I told him about renewable energy. At the time, we had the Maurice Île Durable concept that was being implemented. And I was telling him about how important it was for our island to go on a sustainable path. But that didn't quite gel. So I told him, well, the other thing is we can set up a financial services company. And that immediately caught his attention. And he told me, listen, let's do this. I have about 800,000 rupees in savings. Take it, that I can invest. Take it and let's do the company. So I said, okay. And we started it off. And yeah, and I chipped in as well over the next few months. And Capital Horizons was born. We took our first office in the cyber city, applied for our license, and started networking using friends and some of my friends I had from my days in Europe, and using Tony's network in South Africa. And that's how Capital Horizons was born. So we try to promote inclusion and personal growth as much as possible, and not only within Capital Horizons, but today we're part of a rather diversified group. One of the ways that I look at that is, a lot of times when I speak to colleagues of their industry, is like they always seem to have one issue, is they tell me that people refuse to take ownership of a task and refuse to assume the consequences of their actions. And I gave that a serious thought. Well, the reason why people do not take ownership is because they are not owners. So we created an employee well, I don't like to call that employees. So we created a share scheme for our most loyal team members who have been here since the very first days and who have contributed significantly to the company, and decided to make them our partners with my co-founder. So this, to me, is what a lot of organizations should look at. I mean, it's law in certain countries. For instance, in France, it is entrenched in their Code de Commerce that listed companies should have employee share schemes and give ownership and board positions to the people working for the organization. I really feel that's important. So today, our holding company, well, the majority of the board members of our holding company are actually from our team members. And not even the board is not even composed in its majority by the original co-founders. So, and I think this is how you build a sustainable organization. This is how you build a culture of inclusion, of growth, whereby the rewards of a company are actually distributed in a more even manner. In terms of Capital Horizons, what we would want is to really be known as the reference in terms of quality of service, in terms of use of technology, and in terms of our processes. Now, besides Capital Horizons, what is important for us is where do we see our group? Because today, Capital Horizons has allowed us to diversify into a bigger group. So one of the other businesses that we've set up is Agrilis. Agrilis does sustainable farming using artificial intelligence. So we have hydroponic beds that have a number of sensors in them that tell you what is the optimum pH for iceberg lettuce, or what is the exact amount of nutrients that each type of crop really needs. And this is one of the businesses that is doing quite well and that we've set up already since 2 years. We're also bringing some pioneering healthcare services in terms of gene therapy. So we've partnered with a very well-known geneticist who's a former MIT graduate and who's based in India and is doing wonderful things in terms of gene therapy for osteoarthritis, for longevity, for a lot of very exciting things. So what we really want to be seen is a company that has the forefront of innovation and that drives and that sets examples. One of the recent things, for instance, that we did was the introduction of menstrual leaves for our lady collaborators. And that is very important for us to always ensure the welfare of the people that work with us, and without the need to wait for legislative framework for it. Told you about it. We've already put in the employee share scheme. We have put in menstrual leaves. So this is for greater inclusion that in the long term sets the basis for a sustainable organization that remains at the forefront of technology and of the betterment of a human being. And I think that's what we want to be as a group and as an organization.